Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own.
Not your average nigga, I'm a god out the hood. They can't downplay me, I came up, I'm elevated. I ain't gotta say too much for them to know I'm coming for what's mine. You know they see me in my presence, say they see how I'm coming. Young, but you not just gonna finesse me like you did my peoples. Then back when you said they was emancipated. This ain't that. Your head too big, you feeling yourself. The game wasn't fair, you had the advantage, we wasn't educated. I don't look tone about them chains. Not no circus lion, son, I can't be tamed. You gon' have to kill me, pussy, Toby ain't my name. Y'all still want us think our history started when we were slaves? Come on now, talk about them pyramids we made. I was chosen by that man, you know y'all just been running game. The nerve of you acting like
All right, what's going on, family? Welcome back to Shifting the Culture podcast. I'm your host, brother King Cam, and tonight we wanted to discuss the new movie that Tyler Perry just put out on Netflix called Straw, and that is starring Taraji P. Henson. Okay, it's starring Taraji P. Henson. So we definitely want to jump into that. I want to give my thoughts, my feedback on what I thought from watching the film. Now, I watched it last night, and I really enjoyed it. You understand? So, really, really well put together film. I think some of the acting could have been a little bit better, but Taraji was excellent. So, it's not on her. Some other people, maybe some of the supporting roles. Oh, shout out to Tiana Taylor as well. She did an excellent job, even though we was not feeling the wig. We was not feeling the wig, Tiana. Okay? But we'll get all the way into that on this episode for sure, okay? Because, on Shifting the Culture, we speak truth to power, elevate the people, and challenge the narrative. So, but this is going to be more on the review side of things. So let's jump right into it, okay? So, Tyler Perry Straw. Like I mentioned, this starring Taraji P. Henson, and she's a single mother with a child who has some medical complications, and she just going through it. She wakes up and she lives, basically in the projects, if you will. She lives basically in the projects, and, she get her child together in the morning, trying to get herself to work, get her child to school, and in the process of that, she's just not having a good day. You understand? Her daughter lets her know that she's being teased in school from not having money for lunch. And she has to eat the quote-unquote special lunch. Then as, the movie progresses on, she runs into her landlord who got a problem with her because you already know she late with the rent. So the fact that she's late with the rent, her daughter already told her she being teased in school because she don't have the money to pay for lunch is already bothering her. But she's being nice. And her character name is Janiyah. Right, so as the movie progresses, the day doesn't get any better for Janiyah. Right, she gets to work. She has a asshole for a boss. I'm gonna just be straight up. I normally don't do cussing, but she has an asshole for a manager, and it's a black man. But he's an a-hole. He giving her crap soon as she hit the door. It's the first of the month, so the store is slammed. She get there, she get to work, and the people treating her bad. So she's just having a bad day, and it just snowballs after that to eventually where she snaps. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away because you want to go and watch the movie. But some of the takeaways, I'm going to give you some of the takeaways that I had from watching all of this. The first takeaway that I had was compassion and the lack thereof by many of us in the community. And while it's easy to talk about compassion, it's easy to read about it in the scripture, it's easy to go to church and to hoop and holler about it. But it's a whole nother thing entirely to actually be active and engaging in that particular type of love towards your fellow human being. So as the scripture says, love thy neighbor. This is Jesus talking. Love thy neighbor as I have loved you. And treat others as you want to be treated. These are universal principles, scriptural principles that we all should live by, and we recite them, but we don't always carry them out. And I believe that was one of the things that I noticed in and throughout the movie was there was no compassion. There was no love for thy neighbor. There was no treat others like you want to be treated. None of that stuff was taking place, and that was one of the biggest things that stood out to me and why it's important to do that. Because not only is it important for us to do that for ourselves or for the other person, it's most important that we do it for ourselves. Because none of us want to go to bed at night feeling as if we did somebody wrong. Nobody wants to go to bed at night feeling as if you've done somebody wrong. But when you show lack of compassion for another person, then it shows in our society, especially in this world, how the human being has declined slowly into animalistic behavior. There's a scene in the movie where she gets run off the road by the police. Now, this is an off-duty cop. Nevertheless, the police, he threatens her, tries to kill her. The other officer that responds on the scene witnesses all of this. Then she proceeds to give the woman a ticket, give Janiyah a ticket, and to tow her vehicle for not having insurance. Right? Why would you pile on to somebody that just went through that? Her manager giving her a hard time. She gets a phone call, and she has to go see about her daughter at school, and the manager has no compassion towards her situation because knowing that she's a single mom, knowing that she has nobody that she can call, she has to go and handle a situation with her medically ill child at school, and he gives her a bunch of crap and allows her to leave, gives her an unrealistic time frame to get back. She makes a stop at the bank to try to get money to take on the way up to the school. Everybody in the bank acting funny, even though she visits the bank on a regular basis. No compassion to try to be of help or be of assistance to people that are in need. See, we've lost our desire to want to be servants of other people. We all feel like we deserve to be served, but nobody wants to serve others. I'm going to say that again. We all want to be served, but we don't want to serve others. So Janiyah having a rough time. And like I said, without too many spoilers, the lack of compassion was one of the things that stood out to me. But then also a thing that stood out to me was how Janiyah dealt with trauma. And I don't see Janiyah as being just one particular person, even though she is, and she fits the mold for so many black women in Black America at different times in their life. Because you might been Janiyah at one point in your life, and now you might be, living your best life now. So you've grown out of that. You've grown out of not being able to pay your rent. You've grown out of, not being able to pay tickets that you get. You've grown out of these different things, only having $40 in your account. You've grown out of those things. But there's somebody else that's also going through it. So you may have been a Janiyah at a certain aspect in your life, and you may have grown out of it. You may have known a Janiyah. You may be friends with a Janiyah. We as black men can relate because we may have seen a Janiyah, been related to one. So that was one of the things that I loved about the movie. It was relatable across the board in Black America. It was relatable across the board in Black America. And again, I don't see Janiyah as one specific person, but as many people. One Janiyah all across the country. In every hood and every community, you have a Janiyah. And yes, it was a lot. It was a couple of points, a couple of times Janiyah blocked her own blessings because she allowed her ego and pride to stop her from accepting help. And that's one of the things that we have to address in our community as a people, that if you need help, don't be afraid to ask. God will send you people that will help you. Because if you don't have nobody else, you got God. And he's going to work for you. He's going to work on your behalf, but he's not going to do it in a spooky way. He's going to send other human beings that's going to be able to help you in your situation. But if you're not willing to accept that help, if you have an inflated ego, or if your pride is too big where you say, I don't need nobody to help me do nothing. And that was one of the parts in the movie where she said, nobody helps me at all. I do everything myself. That's pride, that's ego. And all of that pride and ego eventually boiled over into the frustration was that you really wanted some help. And you really wanted somebody to lift the burden from you, but you was too prideful and too egotistical to ask. And that's what we got to watch out for. The scripture says pride comes before a haughty fall, meaning that right before you fall flat on your face and lose everything that you work so hard to have, it's the pride that rears its ugly head first. And you get to acting funny. You start acting like you don't need nobody. You got to where you are without any help. There was no intermediaries in your success. That's why I don't use the term self-made. Because there's nobody out here that's self-made. You were made by God. And there were several instruments that he used in vessels that came into your life to help you be successful. Many people along the path that helped you be who you are today. So there's no such thing as self-made. No such thing as self-made millionaires. I hate the term because it's egotistical and it's prideful to believe that you and only you is the only person that you can give credit to for your success. So it's egotistical. And that was one of the issues that Janiyah had. And a lot of us deal with that in our community because it's a trauma. Because we would ask. The problem is we did ask people for help at a particular point in life. And somebody will hang that over your head. They will hold that over your head because you asked them for help. It was such a traumatic experience when you asked for help that you never wanted to do that again. And this is why brother student minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad right here in Atlanta, Muhammad Mosque number 15, our Southern Regional Minister, talks about and trains us on the proper handling of people. Because when somebody comes to you and asks you for advice or asks you for assistance in something or is seeking help or guidance, you have to be careful how you handle that person. How you react, how you deal with what they asking you to deal with, because you can damage them knowingly or unknowingly. And a lot of our people have been damaged knowingly or unknowingly in the process of asking for help. So we refuse to ask for help even though we may need it because we are damaged, we are traumatized from the times that we did ask for help. And we was mistreated, spoken down on, it was held over our head, we was judged, all of those different things. And that's a real part of life. It's reality. There was a sister on social media who said that she thinks that Tyler Perry hates black women because of that movie. And I know that's that's an uninformed statement for her to make, because if you know Tyler Perry and have studied any of his history, his background, then you would understand how he thinks and how his perspective is shaped. There's a documentary on Tyler Perry, and it documents his childhood and the traumatic experiences that he had and how his safe space was around black women. He was raised by majority black women. his mom, his grandma, his aunties, all of these black women were instrumental in his life and even saved his life. I'm not going to get into all of that. You can go watch the Tyler Perry documentary, but that was his safe space. And he would spend time with black women. His mom, he would go with his mom to his aunt's house, and he would be around his mom when she would have her friends come over, and they would have conversations, and they would talk about the things that they dealing with. This shapes Tyler Perry's perspective, and he's able to hear the stories of black women, but he's also living in a true story of a black woman raising him. So he has all of these different areas to draw from when he creates these movies from a perspective of a black woman who have gone through all of these different things. So it's a very informed thing to say that he hates black women, because you obviously don't know his background and how he grew up and what his foundation is in the creation of these films. So, overall I enjoyed the movie. I thought it started off a little funny, and it was some parts where he dramatized, which is what movies do, where you dramatize, over exaggerate. Because for this to be one day, this was a tough day. From start to finish, this was a tough day. Anybody have a day like this, you definitely need to call somebody that's gonna get you some help. You need to sit down immediately. You need a 24-hour therapy counseling session. You need some altar prayer. You need some oil on the head. You need some holy water. You need a baptism. If you go through this day that Janiyah had in the movie, oh yeah, you need all that. You need all that to help cleanse and purge from all the trauma that she went through in just one day. But obviously it's a movie, so it dramatizes a lot of things, but it brings home how things will compound. Snowball effect. One bad thing after another, after another, after another. It's like you can't catch a break. And this is the reality of black America that most people don't want to discuss. See, they'll highlight Oprah or LeBron or Denzel, or, they'll highlight, those of us who successfully made it out. But they don't talk about the ones, the 85% who are in the everyday struggle. And that doesn't mean that Oprah and LeBron and, Tyler Perry, they don't struggle. Their struggles are just different. But they came out of that. Oprah did, and Tyler did, and LeBron did. So they understand. They know what that is. And that's the reality of 85% majority of black America is in that Janiyah position. Despite what you want to put on social media, I don't care about how many cars you rent off Toro or any exotic car rentals. I don't care about how many filters you put on pictures and the hotels you staying in, on them trips you paying for, on Afterpay. I don't care about none of that. See, social media is a flex. Don't nobody want to keep it real on social media. They want to keep up the facade that everybody is living like Tyler Perry. You on private jets and you doing all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you want people to think that because it's all for likes and views. Everybody want to be an influencer, but don't nobody want to keep it real. And the reality of it is that most of us struggling, and when I'm talking about struggling, struggle don't always have to be financial. Everybody might not be struggling financially, but if you not struggling financially, more than likely you struggling spiritually and mentally. If you're struggling spiritually and mentally, then some people got the finance piece together, but you in some type of area. If you got your spiritual life together, emotional and mental on some type of accord, then more often than not, the finances is struggling. The point is, you struggling somewhere. You struggling somewhere, and don't nobody want to address that. Don't nobody want to have that conversation. Don't nobody want to face that. And I was listening to somebody talk about Straw, and they said that the movie was a mirror. The movie is a mirror. Not only for black women, but it's a mirror for black America. It's a mirror for white America. Because this is what the reality that they refuse to believe exists. See, for them, they got a 400-year head start of thievery, robbery, oppression, and injustice against a whole people. So certain things you don't even know about, because see, land that was stolen from us you was birthed into that. You was birthed into that wealth that was made off of the backs of slavery. You was birthed into that. So your reality is different, but you tend to believe that you understand that the struggle is the same. And it's not. It's not. So instead of being ready to listen and not as ready to speak and get educated on the struggle of black people in America, you want to act like you know. And you want to come to the conversation with a preconceived notion and act as if because people get a welfare check, or people get TANF, or people get a DEI policy, or a civil rights bill passed, or a right to vote, that somehow that helps us to make up the 400 plus years of ground that was taken from us. Absolutely not. I don't give a damn what a lot of these hemming and hawing, shucking and jiving pastors and civil rights leaders and so-called politicians talking about. They're not going to keep it real, because they're not going to jeopardize the hand that feeds them in the nearness to the one who is responsible for the oppression, injustice, thievery, and robbery that is taking place against black people all over the planet Earth, and most specifically here in America. So I don't give a damn about what they're talking about. I'm going to tell you the way that my teacher going to tell you, which is straight truth. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to tell the truth no matter what. And he's not afraid to tell it. He's not afraid to point out who is responsible for it, because that's what you do. When you free, you can speak truth to power. When you bought and paid for, well, you got to read the script. So the reality is, a lot of black people and black women are Janiyah. And we in leadership have to begin to think about solutions, not for us, but for the Janiyahs. And for our people, for our community, we have to start thinking about nation building. And how can we solve those problems, the things that Janiyah was running into? How do we stop that from happening to the next person? So it's an awesome film. I was critical. I was a little critical at the beginning, but it drew me in. And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, this was good. And also, lastly, what I wanted to talk about was mental health. Because there is you have to watch the whole movie in its entirety to understand, but the way she coped with trauma and anxiety and depression is something to be studied, because it's toxic the way that we do it. You know, oftentimes we go through things, we traumatize, and we never seek help. We never get counseling about those specific things. We just keep it bundled up inside, which ultimately causes sickness and disease. But also these pharmaceutical companies that prescribe these types of medications that's supposed to help you with this, with mental illness and clearing your head and clearing your emotions, but they have side effects that will cause you to do things you would not normally do. And that is a problem. That's why we have to stop trusting the pharmaceutical companies. We have to stop trusting these doctors that prescribe these medications for you, and you're not doing the research into the side effects. And you take this stuff, and then you go out and you try to operate in the world, and something happens that triggers you. And now you're doing things that you would not normally do if you had not taken that medication. I don't want to give it away. You'll see it if you watch the movie. But it's powerful. It's powerful how Tyler threw that plot twist in at the end. But the way we cope with death and other traumatic events in our life, we have to become more intentional about the counseling, the auditing, the conversations, the expression of our feelings to get that out, so we don't keep it locked up inside. So we don't have a moment like Janiyah had where she snapped. She snapped. She could not believe the day that she was having. I mean, she got her car towed. She got a ticket. She got put out. The landlord didn't give her no slack. She put all her stuff out in the rain, including her child medication. She get to work. The boss treating her crazy. They get robbed at the job. And then when they get robbed at the job, the boss tried to put it on Janiyah because she was just standing in the office asking him for her check. She was just trying to get her paycheck so she can take her money to her daughter. He fires her and then doesn't want to give her her paycheck. Boy, this dude was rough. And then in the process of him cussing her out about that, his store gets robbed. So now, because she got her name tag on, they say her name, the robbers say her name, he think she know them. And he starts to believe that she's the one that set up the robbery. Right? So he like, I'm about to call the police and put you in jail. Tell them that you set it up. She ain't had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with it. So she was just getting done in. But then after that, it was like, what else I'm going to do? There's nothing else for me to do. Nobody's going to help me. So it's just really crash out time. It's really straight crash out time. I'm going to get my money so I can go handle what I need to handle because you haven't been hearing what I've been saying all day. So now I got to take it by force. See, you snap now. No logic is registering in the brain. But it goes back to what I was saying before about the proper handling of people and why we have to recognize these different things and we got to step in and do our part. So really good movie. Really, 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 really good movie. Like I said, it grew on me because in the beginning I was like, this is some of the acting a little. Now they doing too much. All right, now like all this in one day, like this is good. That's how it was. But as it went on, you know, I started to see these different things. I was like, okay, boom. Oh, and shout out to Tiana Taylor. She played her role. She played her part in that movie. And I didn't like neither to this. This is what I didn't like. Because, okay, so Janiyah goes to the bank to get her check. But she got a gun that she took from the guys that tried to rob the store that she was working at. So the guys that tried to rob the store, you know, they attack Janiyah. She fights them back or whatever. She takes the gun from him, kill one of the robbers. The other robber run away. Then she kill her manager because he was just, like I said, an asshole from the beginning. So then she goes across the street to the bank to try to cash her check. She got the gun with her, so she trying to cash her check. They giving her a hard time because she don't have an ID. So she like, just cash my check. And she just taking the gun and she like, yo, just cash my check. And then they think she trying to rob it. And she like, no, I don't want this money. I just want the money that I'm owed on the check. So anyway, now they done call the police and they think it's a bank robbery. Okay, so now they got everything set up with the bank robbery. So Tiana Taylor is a police officer. She's a detective. She's the one that makes contact with Janiyah as the negotiator, right? So they having a back and forth conversation. And, you know, what I didn't like was how, see, Tiana was able to make a connection with Janiyah because later on, Tiana reveals that she is a single mother and had to go through those things that Janiyah went through. So they made a connection. But there was a point where Tiana was making good progress with Janiyah. Conversation was cool. Bond was cool. They was making progress. She about to, you know, give up and come out the bank. And then the FBI show up. The white boys show up because they got a black police chief, Tiana Taylor, black detective, her partner, black man detective, right? They handling it. But then the FBI shows up, the white boy, and then they come in barking orders, trying to take the case and, you know, trying to tell the black chief what to do, trying to tell Tiana Taylor what to do. So it gets to a point where they say, listen, y'all been doing this for 12 hours. Y'all done had enough time. We about to storm the bank. And Tiana Taylor like, nah, because she's actually about to give up. We already agreed she's about to give up. So give me a few more minutes. She coming out. The white man like, nah, we getting ready to storm the bank. So I'm feeling like, I'm just telling you me, I'm feeling like somebody got to interject because the moment that they storm the bank, they're going to kill the gunman, who was Janiyah. They already said that she was a murderer from the incident at the store. They said she tried to rob the bank, so they're coming in to put her down. So I'm saying, like, yo, somebody got to put their body in between the FBI and the bank at this point. If you care about this woman, you have to do that. And the black man was weak as hell. Tiana Taylor partner, he was weak as hell. Tiana said, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to the door. I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? She went to the door and was like, look, they coming in. This is what you need to do. I need you to come out now. The black man talking about, oh, wait a minute, Tiana. Wait. Well, he didn't call her Tiana, but because that wasn't her name in the movie. But he's like, wait a minute. What are you doing? I'm saying to myself, bro, what are you doing? You should have told that white man, listen, ain't nobody, you're not coming through here unless you coming through us. So if you're going to kill cops to get in here, then that's what you're going to have to do. But we not about to let you go in here after we done already put this work in. And she already agreed to come out and we can end this peacefully, and you want to go in just to get a body? Nah. But that's how you can tell he was one of them beta, compliant, want to please white people type of brothers. And you got to be careful of them. In law enforcement, you got to be careful of them. Like, no, man, this is bigger than the shield. This is bigger than the shield. We trying to save human life. Where's your compassion for her life, for her daughter? You knew the story. You was there all day with the other detective, Tiana Taylor, so you knew what was going on. But you was too damn weak to step up to the white man and tell him you won't go on. Can't stand them type of Negroes. So I had to make sure I had to put that part in there too. But overall, like I said, really good movie. Definitely want y'all to tap in. But I wanted to give this review on it because I think it's really dope. And I seen all the pushback that Tyler was getting for it. I was like, nah, we can't do that. Tyler catch a lot of heat. So, you know what I'm saying? We ain't want to do that. So comment your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. We appreciate you for checking out the video in this, you know what I mean, edition of Shifting the Culture, a podcast where we, you know what I'm saying, speak truth to power, challenge the narrative, and elevate the people. Man, comment your thoughts below. Let us know what you think.